An Australian actress has lost her son and she's trying to find a way to do something to placate her loss. Now, her method and her option for what she's about to do is raising some eyebrows. So, we're going to listen to the news report to find out what exactly she has in mind to do.
And in Australia, a grieving mom is putting her faith in the future and the internet with the hope of preserving her 13-year-old son's body and maybe one day possibly bringing him back to life. Atreyu McCann tragically took his life last week after months of bullying, and now his mom, Claire, has decided to turn to the science of cryogenics, praying that eventually medical breakthroughs in the future might allow doctors to revive her son and bring back the boy who was her universe. And joining us now is Claire McCann. Claire, thank you so much for being with us. Welcome. We are so sorry for your loss.
I am too. Very, very sad to hear that your son was bullied and decided to do what he did. However, I will say this. This does not sound like a wise decision. I understand grief could be handled differently from many people. There are tons of people that cannot grieve properly. There are some people that become so overwhelmed, they do some of the most outrageous things. This doesn't seem like one of the better ones. I specifically remember multiple instances in movies where keeping things like this going and then trying to resurrect somebody from, you get one that might be problematic. Also, if you're hoping that people in the future can bring people back from the dead, I think you're putting a little too much faith into science. That's just me. But I do understand that the grieving process may not have fully run its course with her. You can see that she's still fully engulfed in this grieving process. And I don't know if anyone's advising her to really think this through before she tries to pursue it. It just doesn't seem safe.
First off, what do you want the world to know about Atreyu?
I just want the world to know that he was so beautiful and so kind and so gentle and just full of life, and that bullying really sucked the life out of him. And that, if me and his family had known the depths of what he was going through, we would have had the chance to get him more intensive treatment. And that's why I believe that I have to fight for this for him. It was always something that me and him had talked about and that we dreamed about. And we really need help.
I'm going to back it up because I have to hear what she just said to see if I heard right. Did she just say that she and her son spoke about this procedure of cryogenesis? I'm just trying to figure if I'm going to back it up because I do want to hear the context in which she just said what she just said. Let's hear exactly what she said.
The life out of him, and that, if me and his family had known the depths of what he was going through, we would have had the chance to get him more intensive treatment. And that's why I believe that I have to fight for this for him. It was always something that me and him had talked about and that we dreamed about. And we really need help.
So, okay, I did hear right. She did say that her and her son spoke about this particular thing she's trying to get done. I don't know why you would be speaking to your son about that unless you were predicting something happened. I'm confused, and I hope I get some clarification with it because it seems as though if she's saying that she didn't know the extent of which her son was being bullied, there's a whole lot to unpack here. A whole lot.
I'm so sorry to hear about the bullying. It's just tragedy on tragedy for those on the outside of us that can see how such intense temporary pain can lead to something so permanent, especially with somebody so young. But do you think that we are really close to a time where science could change the permanence of death? You say you talked to him about that. What were those conversations like?
So during COVID, we'd been homeschooling, nearly his entire primary school years. It was only when he started high school that this happened this year. But during COVID, of course, being, away from everything, we weren't allowed to go out and things. We were talking about the afterlife and talking about things. And of course, we wanted to go to heaven, but we thought, oh gosh, what if it isn't real? And we always just want to be together. And we watched this documentary called The Year 1 Million. And we thought, okay, maybe we should do this, in the year 1 million, we could do all these amazing things if this is real. And so we were waiting for this clinic to open in Australia. And it only just opened recently, so I hadn't, gotten the whole life insurance, everything together, and I never could have imagined that we would have been facing his end so soon. But I know that with the advancement of this technology, it really depends on how many people are put into cryogenics preservation. So I hope that, if my son does find someone who's willing to contribute to this funding campaign, and I'm able to put him in, and then I work, the next however long I can to put myself in as well and have plans for our family and friends.
Okay. So the goal apparently is 300,000 Australian dollars. I'm sitting here. I really am kind of at a loss for words here. She has said a whole lot, and I'm trying to decipher how we go about parsing this out without stepping on too many toes. So I will say this: grief in everybody is handled differently. And some people will do anything in their power to try and bring someone that they love back, or to try and avoid the thought of them no longer being here. Some people go to the extremes of this, and some people decide to go join them. I'm not trying to minimize her grief. I'm not trying to play off the fact that her son was bullied and took his own life. I simply want to try and speak from a center of reason as to the logic side of this option that she's looking at. As of latest of June, she's still seeking to try and make him cryogenically preserved. There is a certain amount of time that she has, because the body can only be kept for so long before you have to put it into cryogenesis, because organ failure and whether or not they can revive that organ. There's a whole bunch of factors that goes into having the person put into this cryogenic state. But with the amount of money that they've raised, they've only raised 12K of the 300K they need. So they're nowhere near the goal that they want. So if it doesn't happen where she does do it, then she has to face the reality of letting him go permanently. And the problem here is she seemed very attached to the idea of keeping her son around. Now, if she doesn't work out, what does that mean of her approach? What is she going to do? Is she going to then try and do her own self in because of this grief? Is anyone trying to help her through it, to reason through this, to stay around? And what exactly is the next step for Claire? It just seems like she's running out of options and times, for at least for him, much less for her.
I'm going to advocate for the advancement of this technology. And, I think the more people that are involved with this process, the more it will advance. Some people think it would be as soon as 100 or 250 years. Me and my son, we're a little bit more realistic. We were like, look, the year 1 million, maybe we come back when, they've learned how to make people fly, how to make people swim in the ocean. And we used to play video games together, and we used to have so much peace in that. So like the idea of a world where we could be together and I could heal him, all the pain he was feeling, he'd just be everything right now. It would give me a purpose.
I hate to ask this question, but like, if by some miracle of science we do see these types of breakthroughs achieved, have you thought, or are you worried about what might happen when they try to bring him back?
So I would be with him. If something were to happen with my revival process, I have other friends and family willing to do it as well. I would also have legal things in place for him to, receive immediate, in-depth mental treatment, a time capsule for him. And I think it would mean the world for him to see that even though he felt like the school didn't care, like his friends didn't care, that actually the world cared and someone was willing to give him another chance at life, because he only told one person about how he was feeling, and the person that he told was quite young, and she didn't realize he was being serious. So I know that he wanted help, he just didn't know how to ask the right people, and he really deserves another chance. He was beautiful. He was just like me in the sense that we donated, all our free time to activist work. We never hoarded money. Everything we made, we gave back to the arts and humanities. We believe in humanity. And I just hope there's someone out there listening who believes in science, who believes in, that bullying is wrong and just wants to help us, because we don't have much time left and we're not even halfway through. People have talked about us going to American clinics, but it would be even too expensive just to travel over there.
This is a tough one. I mean really tough one. Um, I would go into an example of something I just recently had an encounter with another friend of mine along the same idea of bullying, but it's as an adult, holding things over people's heads that they have no more control over anymore, or they're trying to resolve, but they're not capable of resolving. And they've chosen pathways that are detrimental to their livelihood, and they no longer want to be here. So I do understand fully this concept of grief being so overwhelming that you don't want to accept it and you're going to do everything in your power to avoid it. I just don't think that she's thinking logically at this point. The emotions are overtaking everything else. I know she's grieving. It's her child, and it's rough, but it's not doing her any good, nor is it making it seem, at least for the perspective of where we are now, that she's thinking about this. Even though people might be volunteering to help later on, there's no guarantee that the people after that might be willing to help. And it might be that she's already thinking that's a risk she's willing to take. I don't know. It just seems a tad much.
So it needs to be the one in Australia. And I just really,
Claire,
I'm just begging someone for help.
And Claire, I know that, originally you said it was 7 days that you had this very small window, and about $300,000 Australian dollars. Where does the window stand now? How many days do you have for this process to have to happen?
I mean, the Cryogenics place had said to us, really, it was like 5 days, but maybe 7. If we were to put him in a sleeping bag with dry ice, it could be longer. But when you do that, it does disfigure them, and I wouldn't want to disfigure my son unless I knew that, it was certainly going ahead. Like, he's so precious to me. Yeah, so I'm really giving it, I think, 3.5 more days now.
Claire McCann, really appreciate you sharing this story. And no matter how anyone feels about this, there is no love stronger than a mother's love. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.
Rock in a hard place, especially considering the emotions that she's feeling. I'm not a mother, I'm a father, so I can understand, at least on some level, that the pain that she's feeling is astronomical. But at the same time, there is a point at which grief can become illogical, dangerous, and harmful. And I think we need to start having conversations about things like that, where we need to acknowledge certain things about a grieving process that takes its time. You get it in, and then after that, you have to move to a different space. Staying in that space is unhealthy, it is unproductive, and it can actually be reductive and put you in positions to actually harm yourself. And for her to, she needs to think about whether or not let's put it this way, she needs to think about whether her son would have wanted her to be this grieving to the point of being ill. Don't know. I mean, the fact that you both talked about it tells me that, okay, you have a good relationship and conversation, but he didn't also feel calm enough to talk to you about the type of bullying he was going through. It seemed like he already, in his mind, accepted his fate as death long before he told you anything. And while that conversation for you was a sharing moment, it seemed to be like it was a moment of him to tell you what he was planning to do so you can prep for things later. A sad situation all around. Considering that she has a very few hours left to make this happen, it may not. The next step is to see what she's going to do if it doesn't work out. I, I I hope and pray she does not do what I'm thinking is quite possible in her mind for her to do. But at the end of the day, we all each have to choose, and we'll see what she does with her choice.